Hey guys, and welcome to the official Ableton Beginner series. My name is Bad Snacks, and I am a producer, artist, and educator living in Los Angeles. And today I'm going to be helping you learn the fundamentals of Ableton Live, which is a digital audio workstation with limitless possibilities and can sometimes be a little intimidating to start with. But today we're going to be making a demo track step by step, and you're welcome to follow along or simply use these techniques for your own creations. This is for anyone who wants to start producing and recording their own music. If at any point you're confused or have questions about anything, there's a great info view within Ableton Live that can help you. You can also leave comments on any of these videos, or you can go to Ableton's website where there's a slew of resources, including a really in-depth manual. Before we even start making any sound, let's make sure that we can hear what we're working on. So the first thing we're going to do is open our settings, which you can also hit Command comma if you're on a Mac. And we're gonna make sure that our audio input device and audio output device is set so that we can hear what we're working on and that we can record through our interface. So without further ado, let's get into our very first concept, which is how to make a beat on Ableton. So when we first queue up Live, we're gonna get this view, and this is called Session View. And Session View can be a really great way to start getting your ideas in and messing with loops and stuff. And it's also a great way to perform your electronic music live, which is kind of what Ableton is also known for. But for now, we're gonna actually go to the other view, which is called Arrangement View. And we're gonna do that by hitting this icon here, or you can hit your Tab key to toggle between the two views. So now we're in Arrangement View, and we have two MIDI tracks as well as two audio tracks. MIDI is basically a digital language that tells your virtual instruments what to play. It's not going to make any sound when you first play it, but we're going to assign an instrument to it, and then we'll start making some sounds. So that's actually how we're going to start making our drums. And there's a couple different ways we can do this, but the first way we're going to do this is by drawing it in. So we need drums to play. So if I go over to the browser and hit drums, Live comes with a bunch of stock drum racks. And I can also use an empty drum rack and customize it myself if I wanted to. But if I click these, I can even hear what they sound like before using them. I'm gonna go with a classic 808 core kit, and I'm gonna just drag it straight over to my first MIDI track. And within each one of these cells, we have different samples. Now we have a drum kit to play. So how do we actually design a drum pattern? One way to do it is by drawing it in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to highlight the first 4 bars of my session. I'm going to right click and hit Insert Empty MIDI Clip. Now, with Clip View, I can see the 4 bars here. If I hit this button up here, it brings us to draw mode. You can also hit B, and before we draw things in, I like to hit this preview button so we can actually hear what we're working on. Now, I'm going to draw in a basic 4 on the floor pattern where the bass drum is going to hit the strong beat of every bar. I can just play this and it's going to sound like this. I can also draw in extra hits just to give it a little bit of variation. And the next thing I do is add snares to the offbeats. So the offbeats are going to be on the 2nd beat and the 4th beat of every bar. Together it sounds like this. Which is a great place to start. Now I can even do subdivisions with my hi-hats. And this one, I'm going to do it with every 8th note. Together, now it sounds like this. So this is a very basic drum pattern, and you may have noticed that we're actually drawing things to a grid, and you can always change that grid by right-clicking and changing the grid here. So now we have it set to 8th notes. I like having it set to 16th notes because then I can put variations in my hi-hat patterns and also my kick patterns and whatever else for fills and things like that. Right now, I'm just randomly putting in extra hi-hats. And at the end of the progression here, I'm going to put an open hat instead of a hi-hat. So now it sounds like this. So now that we have this very basic drum pattern, one thing that's really cool is we can customize the drum rack if we want. So let's say that I wanted a different snare. What I can do here is I can search snare and try out some different snares. For instance, I really like that 808 snare. So I just drag and drop it right onto the cell. And now I've replaced that sound. That's just changing one sound, but you can kind of see how this becomes endlessly customizable. You can replace all of these cells with different sounds as you're creating your patterns. Moving from this point, we're going to be building what's called a loop. And one way that we can do this is by moving this loop bracket over, and you can always expand it to be longer or shorter. And we can hit this button to enable it, or you can hit Command L. And now when we play it, it's going to loop over and over again. That's what we're going to use as we build the beginnings of our track. So now that we've drawn a basic drum pattern with MIDI, we're going to use an audio loop to layer our drums. I'm actually going to delete this second MIDI track and we're going to go straight to audio. And if you're looking for audio, a great place to start is either with Ableton Packs or with Splice. In this example, I'm going to use Packs. So I'm going to hit Packs in the browser here, and I actually downloaded this one for free, Beat Selection by Sample Magic. I'm going to hit the drop down and hit Samples, and I'm going to go to this Progressive House folder. And with each one of these, you can actually audition what it's going to sound like just by clicking on it. And I'm going to use this one because you can see even in the file name it says top, and that usually refers to the percussion and hi-hat patterns that happen on top of a kick drum and a snare drum. So all I do is click and drag it onto my audio track. And you can see that it's a little short, right? So I can actually duplicate this just by hitting Command D, and now it is the same length as the other loop. And if I play them together, it sounds like this. One thing you might notice is that what we actually auditioned was a little bit faster than what we dragged into the session. You can see in the file name it says 128, and in this case that refers to the BPM or beats per minute. But our master BPM up here is 120 BPM. So it means that we're working a little bit slower. But this is one of the really cool things about Ableton Live is that we can just change the tempo. So I can make it slower. Or I can make it faster seamlessly. I actually really like how 130 BPM feels, so we're gonna go with that. Now, we could totally just leave these two layers, but I'm gonna show you one more technique about how we can use audio to build our drums. And in this instance, I'm gonna go to Splice, which is now integrated into Ableton Live. With Splice in Ableton Live, if you make a free account, you're gonna have tons of sounds available to you included, and that's what I'm gonna be using today. So I have Splice open here. I'm going to go to Instruments, Drums, and I'm going to hit Included. So these are all of the included sounds. I am going to hit Percussion, and then I'm going to look for loops. I really like this one. It kind of has this sticky quality. So I'm going to just drag and drop it. And if I play it all together, altogether, when I just drag and drop the audio loop, it sounds really good, but I want to customize it a little further by chopping it up. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to deactivate the first beat by hitting 0, and then I'm going to deactivate every other beat that way. And then I'm going to split the clip here by hitting Command E, and we don't even need this part. So now I'm going to highlight what I have, and I'm going to hit Command C to copy, and then Command V to paste, or I can highlight the whole thing and hit Command D to duplicate. And now, all together, it's going to sound like this. So we've now created drums a couple different ways using MIDI and audio. Before we move on to the next module, which is going to be about chords, let's save our progress. We do that by hitting save, which is Command S, and then we locate the folder that we would like our session to live in, and then we name our session. How do I make music? And hit save. And now every time we hit Command S, it'll save to that folder. Now that we have our drums, let's move on to chords.